Hey everybody, it's Stephen here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at new and upcoming light novel and manga releases for the month of August, as well as a few honourable mentions at the end of the video of series that I'm currently looking forward to coming out. We'll be looking at releases from both Yen On and Seven Seas. This month, Yen On has a small selection of new releases, while Seven Seas has quite a few on offer. I'll look at putting all the details for these below in the comments section, as well as timestamping each one for your ease of access. Anyway, before we begin, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. So to start off with, we're going to be looking at new releases from Yen Press. This month, we have 4 new light novels and 1 new manga from them. The first new release from Yen Press is If the RPG World Had Social Media Volume 1. Be right back, going on a quest for love. In a fancy world where smartphones and the internet exist, the hero has become a total shut-in. Refusing to socialise with anyone, however, his world gets a little larger when he meets the Demon Lord online. The two hit it off, and the hero decides he wants to meet her in person. The outside world is a dangerous place though, and this shy young man only has 1 HP. This story is an adventure romance for the digital age, told almost entirely through chat logs. Now, the book is categorised as a science fiction, fantasy and action adventure kind of book. I haven't seen any books actually like this before, or they're not ones that I've actually read before I started doing this channel. Now, coming across this one, it's actually piqued my interest. I have seen the odd book trying to do chat logs inside them, and they haven't gone very well. So I'd be interested to see how they've actually done this book and how they're actually going to make an entire story out of it, especially with this being volume 1, which implies there's going to be multiple volumes going forward. I'm really looking to see how this one turns out, and it's going to be a release that I will be picking up in the future. Whether it'll actually be in August when this is actually released, or if it's going to be in September or even later, I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely on my to-buy list. Next we have Labyrinth Kingdom, a Tactical Fantasy World Survival Guide, Volume 1. After being transported to another world, one man's mission is to rebuild a kingdom. He has a very particular set of skills, and he's ready to face any obstacle because he who dares wins. Monster, dungeon, war stand no chance against the special forces. Now, I almost actually burst out laughing when I saw that he has a particular set of skills, because if anybody's actually watched that movie, you'll know the line that I'm talking about, and it just made me think of that one, and I just had an internal laugh inside of my head when I was actually talking about it. So this is a isekai, and for those who actually watch my channel, you know I'm a sucker for isekai light novels and manga. So this is one that's definitely going to go on my to-buy list. It's actually shown as a science fiction and action adventure as well. You don't normally get a lot of sci-fi isekai, so this is one that I'm looking forward to reading to see where they go with it. Is it sci-fi in the fact they're just bringing a bit of modern technology into a fantasy world, or are they actually going the full hog and introducing a full sci-fi blown adventure into the storyline? Anyway, this is one that I am going to be picking up at some point in the future. Whether it's next month when it's actually released, or in a few months' time, I'm not 100% sure. But as I said, I'm a complete sucker for isekais, so it will be on my to-buy list. Anyway, next from Yen Press is Spy Classroom Volume 1. Intelligence is the most dangerous weapon. Following a devastating military conflict, countries fight their wars in the shadows. One unusual spy, Claus, has never failed on the jobs despite his quirks, and he's building a team to take on an impossible mission, one with over a 90% chance of failure. However, his chosen members are all washouts with no practical experience. They'll have to use every trick in the book, and some that aren't, to prove that they're up for the task. So this isn't the usual kind of book I'd read, although it sort of piques my interest in the way that one line from the previous one did, in the fact that it actually sounds like a kind of Mission Impossible kind of book, but based on a light novel kind of story. This could actually be quite fun. It's actually down as a fantasy action adventure, So I might look at getting this one in the future, but it's definitely not on my priority list to actually get. If it's one that I think about in an upcoming review session potentially, I will look at getting this one. Anyway, last from Yen Press is the manga, and it's I'm a Villainess, so I'm Taming the Final Boss, Volume 1. Avoid at all costs a bad ending. When her fiancé breaks up with her in front of the entire student body, noblewoman Aline is devastated, or she would have been if it wasn't for the exact same moment memories of her past life come crashing back. Turns out she's been reborn as the villainess of a dating sim, and according to the story she's slated to die at the hands of the Demon King in 3 months. But Aline's already got a plan. Step 1, get the Demon King Claude to fall in love with her. Step 2, to live. So I'm actually looking forward to this manga. Why is that? Yes, it's an isekai, and as I said, I'm a sucker for isekai, but that's not the only reason. This genre of the dating sim or reborn into a dating sim has actually been very popular recently, and it's actually produced some really good titles. And it actually all started off with the following one, and that is My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. Now, this came out in light novel and manga form, and it also came out in an anime. When it actually proved very popular in the anime is when we suddenly got this influx of actual isekais in the dating sim kind of genre through more mangas and light novels, and we're seeing an explosion in that kind of subgenre of the isekai. They're all very funny and they're all very well put together, and I've been enjoying them immensely. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this one brings to the genre, if it adds anything new, or if it's actually going to be a rehash of one of the previous ones. If it's a rehash, then it's one I probably won't pick up after the first volume, but if it adds something new like some of the others, then it's one that I will potentially stay with. So it's one that I'm looking at getting in the next and upcoming months. Anyway, that's it from Yen Press. So now let's get on to 7 Seas. So 7 Seas actually only has one new release for the light novels, but it has a lot of upcoming manga. Now, 7 Seas actually gives a bit more information on their up-and-coming releases, so I'll be providing a bit more details on top compared to what I have done for Yen Press. So the first one we're going to be looking at for 7 Seas is Loner Life in Another World, Volume 1. A sarcastic isekai comedy about surviving in a fantasy world with only the weirdest magical powers inspired the hit manga. When a sadistic loner, Haruka, gets transported with her class to another world, he's not wild about adventuring, but he wouldn't mind having some cool powers. Unfortunately, he's last in line when magic cheat skills get divided up. So by the time it's Haruku's turn, there's no good choices left. Now he'll have to take on a fantasy world the hard way, on his own, with a hodgepodge of bizarre skills. When infighting and chaos breaks out amongst his classmates, can this loner come to the rescue? So the book itself is actually rated for older teens. It's actually got a page count of over 500 pages, and that's actually quite large for a light novel. Now, that is actually really good, and I have seen this a couple of times, and it tends to be when it's come from a web novel. I'm not actually sure if this one had a web novel, but I wouldn't be surprised. The reason this is sometimes done is because the author doesn't want to break up the original storyline he did into 2 or 3 kind of books and make the page counts really small. They want to keep it as one solid storyline and hopefully get the readers hooked to buy future novels from the series. As this is an isekai, it is one that I'm going to be picking up. Whether it is next month or in future months, as I've said, I'm not 100% sure. So stay tuned to the channel and you'll see when I actually pick this up and what I think about it. So next up we're on to the manga for 7 Seas, and the first one is Happy Kanako's Killer's Life. Nashiro Kanako sure hates her job and is only too happy to snag the first new gig that comes her way. She never expected that her interview would be at an agency to contract killers, or that she'd be really good at bumping people off. Kanako doesn't have a ton of self-confidence, and adjusting to the new life as an assassin isn't the easiest. Will she ever earn the respect of Sakuri, her prickly but kind hot new co-worker, find out in this dangerously funny, full-coloured manga. So this is the first full-coloured manga that I've actually come across. I'm pretty new to the manga world, so I'm looking forward to actually seeing what this one's like and seeing if it's as funny as it sounds. So this sounds like it's a hilarious full-coloured manga about office politics and killers for hire, and it sounds quite funny. The book itself is actually aimed at teenage years 13 plus, so it should actually be quite a light-hearted, funny kind of book rather than a more gritty kind of comedy that you might expect. But even looking at the cover, you can tell this should actually be quite the fun-loving kind of book, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this one actually brings. And it is one that I think I might actually get, although it's not the kind of manga I would look at getting. But it is, as I said, fun-loving in its appearance. Next up is Pompo the Cinéphile. Gene Finney is a nervous but devoted film fanatic, working in the movie capital of Nollywood, running errands for the baby-faced movie producer Joel Da Vinci Pompo. When Pompo starts working on a new project, she gives Gene the opportunity of a lifetime. Can he prove his passion for watching movies is matched only by his talent for filming them? Or will Gene's dreams of cinematic greatness wither as he spends the rest of his life making coffee runs instead of movies? So this is another manga aimed at teens of 13 plus. And it's an actual manga about making films, which is ironic to say that it's actually now got an animated film itself. It's not one that I've watched, but I might get the manga or I might watch the anime adaptation or the anime movie first to see if I like it. And if it is one I like, I then might go and actually buy this one and add it to my collection. Next up, we have Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of Otome games is tough for mobs. Thanks to some unfortunate gameplay, a young man named Leon has been reborn in the world of an alternative universe Otome game. Facing an absurd scenario where males are no better than livestock who serve at the whim of women, Leon only has one weapon, his knowledge of the dating sim genre, to survive the challenges he faces and inspire revolt against the system. Now again, this is another dating sim isekai, and unlike the others, it's actually a male protagonist. All the ones I've read so far has actually been about a woman reborn into a video game dating sim, usually as the Villainess. So this actually sounds like it's got something completely new to add to it. So I will be looking at getting this one and seeing what it actually brings to the genre, the same as the other one. It sounds interesting, and it's actually also based off of a light novel which is also published by 7 Seas. If I enjoy the manga, I might actually look at getting the light novel as well, because as I said, I do enjoy these kinds of books. Next up, we have Skip and Loafer. Mitsuri is bound for high school in Tokyo. She's got book smart, but this small town girl is about to find out she's massively unprepared for the social norms of big city high schoolers. Again, this is a teen-based manga set for the age of 13 plus. Other than that, I don't actually have much more to say on this one. I don't know too much about this storyline, and it's not one that I've actually seen before in light novel form either. So I'm not sure if this is the first time it's been brought out and it might get a light novel adaptation, or it's actually got a light novel already there. If you know, please leave me a comment below. I would love to know more. Next up from 7 Seas is I Got Caught Up in Hero's Summons, but the other world was at peace. Miyaka Kayato is no hero. He's just a normal university student who gets caught up in the hero summons with an actual hero. But even hero is just a ceremonial role these days, ever since the Demon Lord was killed centuries ago. In a world where demons are chill, nobles are no longer corrupt, wars are a distant memory, there is no more epic quest to complete. What's a regular guy to do? Why? Build a harem, of course. Now this just made me chuckle. Now, for those of you who don't know, a harem is when a guy gets multiple women to fall in love with him and has a relationship with all of them, or just ends up picking one of them. Now, this is actually rated as a teen one for 13 plus as well. Normally when you get harems, they're either based on the lower teen spectrum, where it's just a laugh a minute one, or they're normally designed for the more mature audience, where there's a lot more sexual kind of innuendos involved. This one seems like it's the previous one, where it's aimed at the more funny side. Again, this is an isekai, but it's an isekai like none that I've seen before, where they're actually transported to a world at peace. So why have they done the hero summons? I do not know, and to be fair, I'm looking forward to finding out. So this is one I'm definitely going to be picking up in the future, as it sounds like it's an isekai fantasy that's more about making friends than actual going on adventures and war. Next up from Seven Seas is Chronicles of an Aristocrat Born in Another World. Teenager Shinya Kazuya died while saving young girls from attacker, only to find himself reincarnated into another world of swords and magic. It was a dream come true. Though he remembers his life and knowledge of Earth, he is now Kane von Silford, the third son of an aristocrat. Being granted the protection of the gods on his 5th birthday turned out to be too much of a good thing for Kane. His stats and boosts are so powerful he must hide his real abilities to climb the ranks of society as he descends into the darkest dungeons. The ultimate isekai adventure being as a teen-turned child is trapped in a beautiful kingdom he didn't create, but might one day rule. Now, looking at the cover of this one, it looks like it's got a bit of chibi kind of style to it and a bit of fun kind of humour to it. It's again rated at the teen level, 13 plus, and it looks like it's going to be a fun read. It's a story about a modern man who finds himself reincarnated as a young nobleman with powerful magic, and that sounds right up my alley, so it's definitely one I will be picking up in the future. Next up from Seven Seas is Call to Adventure, Defeating Dungeons with a Skill Board. Since the discovery of fantastical dungeons all across Earth, slaying monsters and clearing dungeons has become a popular pastime. 27-year-old Haru dreams of gaining recognition as an adventurer, but he's got two monstrous problems. He's socially invisible and has literally no skills in adventuring. When a dungeon suddenly appears in his garage, however, he finds a skill board that allows him to level up faster. The dungeon diving adventure Haru has always dreamed of, or just getting started. So this book is actually based off of a prize-winning web novel in Japan, and it's about monsters and dungeons being found in our world. Now, was they there all along, or have they been transported into our world like some sort of reverse isekai? I just don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out through this manga. And with the fact that it's actually a prize-winning web novel, it might actually come to light novel format as well. So I'll be keeping my eye out, because if it is, I'll be looking at getting both the manga and the light novel for this. Next up is Slow Life in Another World. I wish. Itsuki is an exhausted office worker, and he's hit the jackpot, right? He's reborn into a fantasy world. He finds himself with a magical skill that generates fat stacks of cash once a day. It should let him to finally relax without having to bother with the usual fantasy fuss of slaying monsters. But otherworldly cost of living is higher than you'd think. With his wits and otherworldly knowledge, can he finally create a relaxing life for himself? So this one is actually showing for older teens, so around 15 plus. Now, I'm looking forward to this one because again, it is an isekai. And I always enjoy these kinds of stories, and again, this is kind of a bit out of the normal for the isekai kind of genre, because it's not about slaying the monsters, fighting the demon lord, or going on those epic quests. It's about somebody trying to survive and do something in the world so they can live a normal life. So it sounds like it's the kind of slice of life isekai. You do have a few of these, and I do rarely enjoy them, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this subgenre of the isekai format brings. Next up from Seven Seas is Level 1 Demon Lord and One Room Hero. The Demon Lord has been defeated by a brave warrior, but is destined to arise again. 10 years later, he emerges from his early slumber to exact his revenge. However, he returns to find that neither the world nor the legendary hero are what they once were. Can the powers of darkness triumph over a shut-in slob? Only time will tell. This is an odd couple comedy about a has-been hero and the demon lord trying to whip him into shape. Again, this is for older teens set at 15 plus, and I'm not actually quite sure what this one's going to bring. The cover on it seems kind of interesting, but if it wasn't for reading that kind of synopsis, it's probably not one I would pick up just from seeing the cover, and it's not one that would potentially excite me. Now, I might look at picking this one up, I'm not 100% sure. This isn't the kind of book I'd normally go for, but it does seem a little funny in some ways, so we'll have to see. It depends what other books are out and what piques my interest more. Next up from Seven Seas is Does a Hot Elf Live Next Door to You? The year is 22X, and Japan has entered an age of inter-isekai exchange thanks to its light novel and manga industry. Kieta is a high school student living on his own, working to become a top manga-aka, when the nerdy, knightly, and cringy High Elf Cert moves next door. Will she blast him sky high for disrespecting elven kind in his latest manga, or are other sparks going to fly? And if not Cert, there's always the secretive landlady Lilith, or the Gaira goddess Aminino. Mythical worlds are about to collide and maybe explode in this sizzling isekai romantic comedy. Now again, this is an isekai, or I should say a reverse isekai, and it looks like a number of different worlds, maybe dimensions, have been transported to Earth, and it looks like that is actually the normal way of life now. So this is going to be interesting. You don't get many of these reverse kind of isekai, even though we did sort of talk about one earlier. As I said, it's out of the norm, so I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this subgenre. The story is of a saucy elf who moves next door to a wannabe manga artist and sets his life ablaze. So again, this sounds like it's going to be a laugh a minute kind of manga, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Next up is another isekai, and it's Reborn as a space mercenary. When I woke up, I found myself in outer space and a universe like the one in my favourite game. With my beloved ultra spaced out ship, I could make a ton of money as a mercenary and live out my days on some cozy planet. At least that's what I thought. Until this beautiful babe with mountains of debt stumbled into my arms. This is a space fantasy like you've never experienced before. Join Satoa and his crew of hotties on an overpowered starship as they speed through strange new universes, seeking adventure. Now this sounds like it's going to be an isekai that I've been waiting for. This is actually an isekai based on a sci-fi genre, and it's not one that I've come across very often. I've seen it once in a while, but not enough for my liking. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Now I know this also has a light novel on this as well, which is also published by Seven Seas, and I think I'm going to get both of them and order them at the same time. I just cannot wait for this one. Again, this is one that's actually geared towards the older teen market, as I said, around the 15 plus kind of age. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this one actually brings. Next up from Seven Seas is JK Haru is a sex worker in another world. Haru was an ordinary student until her moron classmate got them both in a terrible accident. Now she's been transported to another world where only men are allowed to be adventurers. Determined to make the most of it, she takes a job in the Blue Cat Nocturne brothel to make a living the one way she knows how. No cheat abilities, no powers, just her quick wits and naughty bits. This is a manga adaptation of a popular light novel. A tough girl in a fancy world does what she can to stay alive in this biting isekai satire. So this book is actually rated as a mature book, so it's not aimed at the lower teen market like the previous ones we've discussed. I will be looking again this one, and I'll probably look at picking up the light novel as well. I enjoy all kinds of isekai, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this actually goes and what this kind of subgenre is actually going to bring to the isekai kind of format. So I'll look forward to reading this one in the near future. Next up is Sundome Milky Way. Yoshitak, your average company drone, is out for a drive one night when he spots a UFO and crashes his car. When he next opens his eyes, he's in his apartment, and next to him is a stunningly beautiful alien girl named Yoon. She has come to Earth to save her species from extinction by claiming human seed, and the sex-crazed Yashitak is the perfect mate. Unfortunately, Yoon's alien physiology leads to an unexpected difficulty that even the world's horniest man may not be able to overcome. Now, again, this one is rated for mature audiences only, and it sounds like it could be quite the funny kind of manga. Now, it's actually described as a sexy out-of-this-world alien comedy from the creator of Yakiya Girls. Now, I haven't actually read Yakiya Girls, but from what I can see, this is also a mature kind of anime with a number of different mangas in the series. It's not one that I've come across before. If you're into this kind of series, then you might have come across it. If so, please leave a comment below telling me about this series. I'd like to know a lot more about it and a lot more about the author, as I'm always looking to expand my knowledge on different kinds of manga and what the kind of community loves and likes to read. Next up is Shirio's diary. Shirio is a typical Japanese housewife in what she thought was a typical marriage, until she discovers her husband's diary, chronicling his many affairs. Sent reeling by the news, Shirio seeks to heal her broken heart by sleeping with her ex-boyfriend from her school days. Her tryst rekindles her desire for sex, opening a Pandora's box of complicated emotions. An explicit, realistic manga of lust and longing by a manga artist with a flair for the sensual. Again, this is one that's rated for mature audiences only, and it's not the kind of manga that I would normally read. And to be fair, I don't think I'm going to be picking this one up myself. The story it's saying is based on a woman who decides to cheat on her philandering husband again and again. Now, where will this book go? I don't know. Again, this is volume 1, so it sounds like it's going to be a series, and I'm quite interested to know if it's actually going to bring up a few moral dilemmas and where it's going to go with the storyline. Although, as I said, it's not one that I'm going to pick up myself, but if anybody else does pick this up, please feel free to message me any details on how you found this one. I'd love to know, because if it is one that people are really enjoying, you never know, I might pick it up at a later date, even though it's not the kind of book that I'd normally go for. Next up is Desire Pandora. Very well, I'll give you a whiff. I'm the demon Rosalie, and I've come to grant your wish. Takia is obsessed with the female body, but what he longs for more than anything is to find the perfect armpits. One day, an elegant blonde demon appears before him, and she has exactly what he craves. A bold, uncensored fetish fancy unfurls between Takia, his neighbour Chakia, the demon Rosalie, and a cast of demon girls who are hungry for more than just souls and power. Again, this is a manga that's rated for mature audiences only, and I think you can understand why from the description. It's a devilish dive into exploring the hottest girls on Earth and in hell, it says. So again, this is probably going to be quite a funny one, but for mature audiences only. Again, this isn't the kind of manga that I'd pick up, so it's not one that I'm probably looking at going and buying in the near future. Because currently there are so many out that I've actually mentioned previously that are right up my alley, so this will probably be last on my list if I go out and decide to buy it. Anyway, that's actually it for the new releases for the upcoming month of August. So let's get into those few honourable mentions that I talked about at the start of the video. There's actually 3. The first book is Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? And it's a light novel and it's volume 13. It's the Crimson Vow versus the Wonder Trio. Miss Pauline, Rihanna and Mavis face off against the chief of the Elder Dragons in a battle that will test the limits of their power. It's up to the Crimson Vow to decide whether war breaks out between dragonkind and humans, but even if the girls emerge unscathed, there are wars of another kind on the horizon, a war between the Crimson Vow and the Wonder Trio over Mile. Now, I'm really looking forward to this one. I have loved this series, and I'm loving to see where the actual story goes in volume 13. Now, I cannot wait for this one. And this one is based for teens or young teens of 13 plus, and it is just a laugh a minute one. I enjoy this one because, again, this is an isekai story, but it's actually about an all-female cast, and you don't get that very often when it's all about adventures and dragon slaying and demon slaying and just going out and rarely taking over the world by storm. So this is one that I absolutely loved and I love keeping up with. Next up is Kuma 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 Bear. Now this is light novel 7. Now I've only just started picking up this series and I've only got the first 3 currently, but I've been enjoying it immensely, so I'm going to be looking at getting the rest of the light novels, and no number 7's come out means I might just order all of them up to number 7 in one go. Now I really love this series, and it's also got an anime as well, which is what got me into the light novels. So what's book 7 about? A mithril knife is needed to butcher the black tiger, but a golem has shut down the mine. Yuna packs her best bear punch and heads out to fix things. Meanwhile, the bakery's offerings are selling like hotcakes, turning strawberry short into a new Cremona-wide craze. Whether it be baking cakes or making bank, the bloody bear schedule has never been so more packed. So last but not least is Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest, number 7, which is a manga. Hajime's life is one over-the-top adventure after another, but against all odds she manages to convince him to take a break from the madness and go out on a date. Unfortunately, trouble is a way of finding Hajime regardless. The two of them wind face to face with Meikyuu, a young mermaid who's fallen into the clutches of a nefarious organisation. Does Hajime maybe have a huge parental soft spot for the little aquatic girl? Oh, the answer is yes to that one, because I already know what's coming. Because I'm actually up to book 11 of the light novels, which I absolutely love, and I am up to date on all the manga, so I can't wait for this number 7, even though it's so far behind the light novels. I love this series. It is a laugh-a-minute light novel, and it's based again for teens of 13 plus, which is actually a surprise for me, because there's actually a lot of over-the-top kind of sexual kind of innuendos within this one, which I would rate as a more maybe mid-teens 15 plus. It could be this one book is actually maybe more 13, while I'd put the actual whole series at the more mature kind of teen kind of spectrum, so the 15 plus kind of category. Now again, I love this series and I can't wait for it to come out, and it's one I would highly recommend to anybody watching this. It also has an anime adaptation, although that is mined with some controversial kind of aspects to it, as the author of the book didn't actually like the way the animation studio was going with the anime and actually changed to a different studio halfway through filming. Due to that, the actual production was actually cut very short, and the actual artwork in the anime has really bad CI. It's actually become a bit of a cult classic for how bad it actually was. And even though it was mined with all these problems and became a cult classic on the bad side, it's actually got a season 2 where the anime looks like it's going to be a lot better. So the animation quality is a lot more smoother and a lot better compared to season 1. So I'm looking forward to that one. So again, this is an anime, a light novel, and a manga that I would highly recommend to anybody who loves the laugh-a-minute kind of over-the-top isekai kind of genre. That's actually all of the honourable mentions for this month, as well as all new and upcoming light novels and manga that are to be released. Thank you everybody for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in future content. Remember, please hit that like and subscribe button. Your support goes a long way to help me keep producing the content, and I look forward to seeing you in all my future videos. Bye for now.